Hi, so today I'll be talking to you about books I've read so far in 2020. I will be rating the books out of 5 stars, going from 5 being the best to 1 being the worst. So, let's begin. First off, I liked Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, read by Stephen Fry. I like the use of language Fry used to describe Hagrid's personality using his tone of voice, and brought out the personality within the characters. I also just wanted to point out how we don't stan J.K. Rowling for being transphobic. I gave this audiobook a 5 out of 5, and I found it very nostalgic and soothing. Are You Okay by Kati Morton was very interesting and informative about lots of mental health issues and how to cope and how to help people dealing with these things. I found Katie also had a really soothing voice and was easy to listen to. This was another 5 out of 5. The Gynae Geek by Dr. Anita Mitra was very informative. It covered a whole range of sexual health information and was very enlightening. These 3 audiobooks were a 5 out of 5. Letting Anna Go is about a girl with anorexia. And while I gave this book a 4 out of 5, it was also quite triggering for me personally and could be triggering for others too. Next is Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. I gave this novel 4 out of 5 because I enjoyed the plot. However, I didn't enjoy the fatphobic comments towards the character Tiny. Ultimately, this novel would have gotten a 5 out of 5 had it not been for these comments. Next is Pleasure, an almanac for the heart by Nikki Gemmell, which got a 3.5 out of 5 star rating. This also touched on sexual health among friendships and relationships. Here's some quotes that I found that resonated within me. Don't be afraid of sharing your vulnerabilities, your fear, envy, frustration. It will make you realize how alike we all are. You'll be amazed to hear again and again, "Yeah, me too." Secrets sap us and stunt our growth. They can become huge, dominate our lives. When we hold something in, it becomes a great burden, difficult to shed. Grasp the relief in exposure, the dignity in risk. You might be surprised at the outcome, for it's amazing how much support you get when you tell the truth. Next we have 3 out of 5s. I found Shadow by Michael Morpurgo a relatively interesting book. However, it was a book that I've only read once or twice, and while it is heartwarming and touching, it was a short and sweet novel that I knew would be great in a new home that would enjoy it more than I did. Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper was about a young girl with cerebral palsy in a wheelchair who couldn't talk. This is discovered throughout the book as she learns how to speak using computer technology. But the most disappointing about this book is that at the very end, when she's going to a competition with her classmates and friends, well, she doesn't end up going, and it's quite disappointing to find out she had been excluded due to her disability. And while it's all fine and dandy to be happy and comfortable in your own skin, the whole purpose of this book was that she was going to be with her friends and classmates for the competition. However, it seems very unjust that she was left out. Not only this, but you could feel her excitement as she was being included, so it seems to me that it defeated the purpose of the entire plot to not let her go and join in. Furthermore, it feels like the book was an entire waste of time. You root for the character and hope that she's included. You can't wait, and you feel the same energy as she does, and yet Melody ends up in the same place as where she started. Next is Take Me With You by Andrea Gibson. This was the collection of poetry, and it explored sexuality, identity, amongst other things. Gibson explores love, gender, politics, family, forgiveness, and sexuality, all themes of a keen willingness to explore and heal in this day and age. Gibson is a genderqueer poet and activist who writes and performs poetry in expressing gender norms, politics, and social reform, and the struggles the LGBTQ plus community face. And whilst I highly stand for what she believes in, I can't help but notice that while this book was good, it wasn't great either. And I found the book fairly average within the poetry industry. I found some poems very cliché, such as, I don't want to be beautiful. I want what everyone wants. To be beautiful, ugly, and loved. Another short poem was Feelings Are Not the Enemy. I typically find my 3 out of 5 star rating books are either books that are good enough to sit on the shelf until I next read them, or books that I would only read once or twice and then give to another home. Next is Zelah Green by Vanessa Curtis. This was a 2 out of 5. The plot was okay with this book, however there was a lot of loopholes, including at the end of the book you expect a relationship between the main character and another character, which never happens. Furthermore, whilst expecting this relationship to bloom, and it never does, there is also stereotypes such as ones with self-harm. This also might be triggering for some readers. Like a Queen by Constance Hall was also 2 out of 5. Personally, I found her language and tone of voice or expression in this book quite foul and vulgar, and that kind of put me off. Additionally, she covered topics such as pregnancy, which I couldn't relate to, and morally, I didn't agree with the double standards she had, where it was not okay for her husband to cheat on her, but it was okay for her to cheat on him. I didn't find that very good at all. This Floating World by Libby Hart received a 2 out of 5 for me, and was a collection of poetry, as well as Glasshouses by Stuart Barnes, which was also a collection of poetry, and I rated 1 out of 5. Finally, I found Kitty Flanagan's book very overhyped and also overrated, and I didn't enjoy this book at all. I rated it 1 out of 5, and found some of the rules very pointless. I also was quite annoyed when I reached the end of the book, after hours of reading and listening, to find out there was actually 487 rules, and the last one you could make up yourself. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this. This is the end of books I've read in 2020 so far. I hope you've enjoyed. Please leave a like and a comment, and tell me what book you're reading at the moment. Thank you for listening. Bye.